Welcome and thank you for joining this member-only 45 minutes on webinar on the certification journey. My name is Chinelo and I'm COO and Membership Director here at ASI. I'm delighted to introduce René Klöpper, ASI Board Member and Sustainability Expert at Becker Group. René will be sharing their certification journey, offering practical tips and explaining how they're using the certification to support their company's goals. Welcome, René. So without much more ado, over to you, René. Thank you.
Thank you, Chinelo. Good morning to everybody who has joined this webinar today. Very glad to be able to share some insight with you all concerning our ASI certification. And as always, with these kind of things, a couple of minutes on marketing our organization. Who is Becker Aluminium Service? We like to call ourselves the multi-metal service provider of choice. My name, like Chinelo said, is René. I am the sustainability expert for 4 business units, and I am also the head of contract and document management for Becker Aluminium. In addition, I'm also an ASI board member, and I operate in the governance and people committee. The Becker Group itself is an organization which is part of the Klöckner group of companies. That's our parent organization. We are one of the largest mill independent service providers in Europe. Unmatched across Germany, we provide our customers with steel, with stainless steel, aluminum, and we have a press shop up in the northern part of Germany where we do some pressing for, amongst other industries, also the automotive one. We have also earned our reputation, we believe, as a reliable partner in industry. We have extensive inventory in place, and with the use of cutting-edge digital and automation systems allows us to be right there at the forefront of what's going on within our different industries. In terms of equipment, state-of-the-art plant technology unique in Europe, cutting-edge precision, cutting systems that we use. We have a highly efficient machinery park, experienced specialists that we have working for us in operations. And I also believe that we are the perfect partner for reliable and sustainable collaboration. So this is just a snapshot of the aluminium machines that we use. We also have other machines, obviously, for steel and for stainless, but this gives the overview for aluminium and what we do and what we can offer. Our alloy portfolio covers 1,000, 3,000, 5, 6, and 7,000 series, and our thickness portfolio ranges between 0.5 and 5 millimeters. In addition to the alloys that we offer in our portfolio, you can also see that we offer different mill finishes. We offer different surface lubricants, which we can apply to material. And we also have a hand or 2 handfuls of other services that we offer our customers as we progress through with them through the services that we offer to them as a supplier. Let me move on to our certification journey, what we did and how we did it. The starting point, I think, and what is important for people attending the webinar to know is we are an aluminium coil service center and service provider. We're not a primary producer, and neither are we a typical component manufacturer. So what this meant was that we needed to adapt the ASI framework to a service-based operation model. Now, this was also very challenging also with the auditor that we engaged with to make sure that we understood exactly what the performance standard was requiring of us and how we could operate within this environment as a service provider. So what we did in terms of integration was that we embedded the performance standard V3 into our existing management system structure, which means that we integrated this together with the current 5 certifications that we have, starting at IATF 16949 and ending with ISO 50001. What this meant was this allowed us to avoid redundancy and to also ensure the consistent documentation and the process governance. What we did in terms of preparation and timeline, we performed a gap analysis to understand where the gaps were. We mapped mapped ASI requirements to existing processes, and I can tell you it was one big file that we ended up with. We looked, just as an example, at energy, occupational health and safety, and supplier management, and we involved all stakeholders very, very early in the process. I think coming out of this, the key learnings for me as the project lead and as the sustainability go-to man at Becker Aluminium, it was the early involvement of top management. It is really, really essential and crucial for credibility. Talk to your stakeholders, get them engaged, inform them about what you're doing, why it's good for the organization. And then also to also engage with stakeholders in terms of cross-functional collaboration. Because I'll tell you something, I alone, as a person, as the sustainability expert for Becker Aluminium, could not have done this certification without the support of my colleagues in sales, procurement, production, quality, sustainability, you name it, governance. They were all very, very important in walking down this road together. They all performed on time, which allowed us to do a very, very quick turnaround in terms of the V3 performance standard certification. Another key learning was tailoring the audit approach for service operations, very critical. The certification body that audited us, they need a very clear understanding of the business model. That wasn't too much of a challenge because our auditor had already engaged in service provision. So he kind of like knew what was going on. And I think also from a practical tip and standpoint, start with the materiality review to identify where ASI can add the most value to your organization. So that's basically what we did and how we did it, Janella.
Thank you very much, René. What I'll do now is I'll ask a couple of questions just to keep the conversation going. So in what you said, you highlighted the importance of getting senior management buy-in at the start. How did you do that? How did you keep them interested and invested?
Well, we kept them interested because we informed management as well that, especially in the automotive industry, which has really, embraced ASI as a standard. These OEMs have all flagged to us that it's going to be part of their RFQ package that they send out to companies like Becker Aluminium. And I think what we did is we linked the ASI certification directly to our business strategy in combination with what these OEMs were saying to us.
Mm-hmm.
We also put forward the customer expectations. The big OEMs here in Germany said if you don't have the ASI certification going forward, you certainly will not be receiving any more RFQs in future. We really expect you to have the certification. We took a look at circular economy goals that we have and how we could benefit by all of this, and to be compliant with the automotive supply chain requirements, which are becoming stricter and stricter. I think what this did was it helped our CFO as a minimum to see the certification as a value driver and not a cost. Okay, it really does drive value, and I have a very, very engaging managing director at Becker Aluminium who is all for sustainability, so it made my life a little easier as well. Also, regular progress updates through our integrated ISO management system help keep people on track, leadership informed and engaged. So every time we go for a coffee in the kitchen and CFO, CEO, COO are running around, a couple of minutes to talk about ASI over a cup of coffee always helps.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I think it's good that we kind of emphasize that point to get the rest of the team involved in the process, because that was something you mentioned at the beginning as well. On a more operational level, though, I was just wondering, how helpful was Elemental in this process? So Elemental is ASI's assurance platform for those who don't know.
Without Elemental, no certification. That's a very easy one to answer. It is very big. It's very extensive. It takes you a while to get used to. And Janella, you'll know When I went through this process, I had to ping you a couple of times to ask for some support. At the end of the day, we did get it right. It's a really, really good tool for the mapping exercise, and we used it as a reference for structure, for guidance, and especially for interpreting the criteria of V3. You think they put forward a question and you think you have the answer, then you see the evidence that ASI is requiring, and then it's like, oh, okay, we need to rethink this one. For the actual gap analysis that we did, we obviously relied on our internal audit system, which already covers off the IATF and all of the ISO certifications that we have, as well as the energy management requirements. And mapping ASI into this system was very good at avoiding duplication and making the implementation efficient. And that's why I was the guy that normally does the certifications for us here, who did not do this one because it's a sustainability certification. He was very impressed with the timeline of the certification.
Okay. Now that's good to know. So what will happen now is René is going to talk to us a bit more about how they are using the certification to meet their company's goals. So over to you again, René.
Okay, thank you. Let's continue. Okay, so the first thing that happens when you go to somebody to talk about a certification is, what's in it for us? Oh, another certification. How much is this going to cost us? All this kind of stuff is going on. So what's in it for us? I believe working towards a customer, it's all about the customer trust and the differentiation. The ASI certification has obviously become a strong proof point of responsible sourcing and transparent material flow. That will become more transparent as we move on into the second certification, which is the chain of custody. We first did the performance standard. Now we will continue with the chain of custody. And it also supports ESG and the scope 3 reporting requirements that we have also as an organization. From a strategic alignment, the certification aligns with our own organization's sustainability strategy. It also is coordinated with the big Klöckner sustainability strategy that we have. There's a specific focus on circularity, obviously, low carbon aluminium, and making sure that the supply chain is responsible. From a marketing position, from what we know and what we believe, we are currently the only ASI performance standard certified aluminium service provider in the EU, which provides a unique market position. I don't see any other organization, at least on the European mainland, that has an ASI performance standards certification. And it also obviously supports discussions with OEMs and tier 1 suppliers who are increasingly highlighting the fact that they would like ASI as a certification going forward. The operational benefit obviously is the certification has improved our internal data consistency. That really is a very big one for us as well. Risk management and also the employee engagement in sustainability topics. It's the engagement is becoming increasingly more positive. It's an interesting topic. We also do a lot of internal schooling in connection with sustainability to make sure that people don't stop thinking sustainability the moment that they walk into the office or onto the site. We want them to think about sustainability during the 8 hours that are with our organization. The next step, I've already mentioned it as well. We are currently preparing for chain of custody certification. This is obviously going to strengthen traceability within our supply chain and will enable the full ASI material segregation for customers. I think a very big takeaway for me is also the fact that the ASI standards and certification, as you can see in the box, has given our industry a common language for responsible business. It connects the due diligence that we're doing, the circularity and the climate action into one practical system. This is why I also believe ASI is very, very strong in what it's doing. And we're helping each of us to move from compliance to real performance improvement. To us, it really was our corporate mother also found it very interesting to see us move forward with the certification. And they also believe that it really, really has been a very big enhancement for what we do. And they really have also supported us through this process.
Thank you, René. I like the fact that you guys defined for yourself what the value of certification was, because I think that sometimes value comes from the people that are using the product, and certification is, in some senses, ASI's product. And then the people who take on the product define for themselves what that value is. So on the value question, I was going to ask, how are you using certification to create a competitive advantage and strengthen relationships with OEMs and tier one suppliers?
Our certification, Chinelo, has obviously been published via ASI. It was basically went around the world once when people found out that we were certified. But Becker Aluminium as an organization is now going to go out and proactively market the fact that we have the first of 2 certifications. And I believe this will strengthen our position as a trusted and transparent service partner of choice. We need to actually go out and do the proactive marketing of the certification. It got a little time delayed, but I think it once people know and we keep on selling our qualification or certification, people will gain more trust when working together with Becker Aluminium. And currently being the only ASI performance standard certified organization, I think it differentiates us in the EU and opens obviously new project discussions with OEMs and tier one suppliers who are focused on low carbon and circular materials. And that is especially a very, very big topic for the for the automotive OEM marketplace that we engage in, because 80% of the business that we do is primarily for Becker Aluminium is automotive. So that does differentiate us, at least in Europe.
Yes, I just wanted to make the point that, well, while you guys have this position that you mentioned, there are other certified OEM suppliers in Europe. So just so in case anyone is listening and they're thinking,
as a service provider, I mean, as a service provider.
Okay.
No, as a service provider, obviously.
Just to make that clear to all of our other listeners. So I have another question. So has there been a shift from trust to tangible value? So maybe becoming this preferred supplier? Because I think the way we like to look at ASI is, I think we had an analogy that we had, but we didn't put it out there, that you wouldn't buy a car, park it in your garage, and then walk out in the rain. So ASI is kind of like the car that you buy to get you from place to place. So how has there been a shift in that, from trust to tangible business benefits?
Well, I will tell you, we do see a clear shift. We also see it with the automotive OEMs here in Germany, who are increasingly using the ASI certification as a criterion for supplier selection. It doesn't mean that you automatically get all of their business, but it's one of the criterion for supplier selection. Obviously, they can't single source, but it does help your business case if you can tell them and show them that you're ASI certified. I think it also builds credibility with these organizations and aligns with their ESG targets, and obviously turning the trust that you have into measurable business opportunities. And I think this will continue to grow as we move forward.
Yes. Okay. And then just going back to your CFO. I love CFOs, by the way. Just thinking about him and asking to see a measurable return on the certification investment. Because
Absolutely.
All that talk about, yes, it's costing us so much to change this and to make this structural change here, blah, blah, blah. What are you saying to him now, and what is he saying to you?
Well, like I said earlier on, dear Mr. CFO, we'd like to do this new certification. Oh, what's in it for me? What's in it for our organization? I think what we did, and a clever thing to do, was that we framed the certification that we were going to go out and get as part of our continuous improvement process that we have here at Becker Aluminium. The benefits including a higher process efficiency at what we do, also better risk control when doing it, and also the fact that we're also providing new customer opportunities, and you would be surprised to know what's in our business development funnel. It's really, really cool, very interesting, lots of new interesting projects coming around, and I think it made it an easy justification to see the certification as an investment in operational excellence and also in market access, and that it wasn't just a compliance cost, something that you need to go out and do. It is actually providing a benefit. Number one, it makes us better as an organization. The performance standards makes us better at our site here in Germany. And number two, when we go down the chain of custody and we ensure that the supply chain is doing all of the correct things that we expect them to do, I think it has a very big effect all over the world if we all go out and do this, the aluminium stakeholders that we have in our supply chain.
Yes. Thank you very much, René. So
Okay.
what I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw this open to let me say to the audience or the people listening to see if we have any questions. I'm not one of those people that is able to talk, think, and type at the same time. So I'm going into the chat box now. I don't know if, okay, there's a question in the Q&A. We've heard from René, so this is now everybody's chance to jump in on the conversation. Let me see what's in the chat. I think some questions have come in already. So one of the first ones is, how were you able to utilize ISO 5001 certificate towards PSV3? How did it help you, and was it what the investment?
Well, it helped us. We went out many, many years ago and proactively did the ISO 50001 certification because we knew that it was going to become mandatory at some point for our customers when we go through the onboarding process with them. And when we did the audit with our auditor, we got to the part where ISO 50001 was relevant, and when he saw the certificate, excuse me, a lot of the questions were automatically ticked as, okay, it's all done, it's all been done, the due diligence has been done, it's implemented, the processes are working. So it helps your ASI certification if the auditor can see that you already have certifications in place, be it ISO 14001, 45001, and 50001. They all really help because the auditor already understands that you understand what we're talking about. It's an ESG, it's a sustainability certification. It's not a product and process certification as we typically know it. It's something completely different.
Yeah. And just on that point, let me add that we always say to members, you don't have to have ISOs to be certified, but if you do have them, then there's that whole cross recognition and harmonization program that ASI has. So I'm probably going to get the word wrong now, but anyway, recognition, cross recognition that we have.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think there was another question about, did you have both LCA and EPD studies done, or had you a selective preference based on your business interest?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and I may take a couple of minutes to explain all of this. The steel part of our business, what we give customers as a document is a product carbon footprint declaration. Now, we have an automated system that works in the background. We've developed, our mother organization developed an algorithm where we basically pour all of the LCA and EPD data in, and the system automatically generates a PCF for the delivery of the material. That's a little different for aluminium currently because we don't operate in an EPD environment with the aluminum mills. They do know them. They have done the one or other EPD, but they would prefer LCAs. The thing with us is we based all of this on EPD. Now we're currently talking also to our third party that is helping us with this as to the entry requirements. We had very specific entry requirements for the data for steel We need to adapt those for aluminum, and the mills are coming back to us and saying we cannot provide EPDs, especially for our business, because we don't have standardized product that we procure. We have very specific products, so we have many different articles, and to do an EPD for every single one would just it would be insane in terms of cost. So we're trying to find a way around adapting the entry requirements, because it goes through a two-step qualification process. Collector Sustainability approves the data, looks at the data and approves it, and then the third party would also approve it, and that data then would then go into the algorithm. We can already provide PCFs, but it would be based on industry averages for CO2. But what we want to do is we want to reflect, obviously, the true picture of the mills that we're engaging with.
Okay. Abdullah, I hope that answers your question. So there were a couple of questions that came in with the registrations, but there's one live one in the chat. So we'll deal with the one live one in the chat, and then we answer the ones that came in via registration. So this one says, how do you deal with the ASI responsible sourcing requirements with your upstream supply chain?
Well, our first point of contact, obviously, with us is going to be the aluminum mill that we deal with. Now, very fortunately for us, the mills that we use for our automotive business are all ASI certified, performance standard, and also chain of custody. So we already know that they have gone down the supply chain all the way down to the bauxite mine. So I think that kind of like helps us with our chain of custody as well. But if we do have a mill that has not gone down this route, we do supplier audits with them, and we walk them through this whole process of responsible sourcing. And we also tell them about the requirement and expectation that we have for us to be able to take them on board, because we have signed up for this. We want to do responsible sourcing. We have to do it. It's also a very big topic with our mother corporation. So anybody that cannot move forward and cannot provide transparent information in the supply chain is somebody that at some point we will have to take out of our supply chain.
Okay, so I take it this is you applying the OECD 5 steps.
Yes.
Let me now boost with my standards knowledge, 9.8 in version 3.
Yeah, yes.
No. Yes, so to the question that came in, I think it's kind of similar. It says, what capability challenges does your supply chain face when complying to your company initiatives? I think it's almost similar to this one. Like,
well, it's similar, Chinello, but
yeah.
there is a subtle difference.
Uh-huh.
Because I think the biggest or the main challenges that we have in our supply chain is aligning all of this with our sustainability and the ASI initiative and the different levels of maturity amongst suppliers. Okay, now for us, as I just explained, it's a little more comfortable because our mills that we deal with already have gone through this step. We have one or two where we are having to develop the supplier to reach the standard. And I think also the challenge is data transparency. These suppliers have different levels of maturity. Some of them have very strong systems for sustainability. It's sometimes amazing to see how many people work in sustainability with our suppliers. Also due diligence and carbon data, whilst others are still building the capability to provide this information. Not everybody is out there and is Champions League and providing all of the stuff that they need to. There are some out there that we want to use in future, but they will have to ensure that they meet the ASR requirement that we will put on the table. Otherwise, we cannot consider them in the supplier selection. The challenge, I think, to address all of this, we don't go out on our ice cold in our messaging. We do this through partnership. We go and visit our suppliers. We do the supplier assessment. We tell them of the clear expectation that we do have, Janilo, and we do some shared training if that's a requirement. If they would need some training to support what they're doing, we can provide that as well. So I think the challenge is not the willingness, it's sometimes the capacity and the consistency. So I think one of my jobs together with my procurement colleague is to support the suppliers so that the sustainability becomes a shared responsibility, because it was very interesting, Chinelo. I have just attended 2 sustainability congresses over the last 2 weeks, and the message that comes across from industry is collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. We
Mm-hmm.
have to work together, all of us in the supply chain, to ensure that we meet the goals that we have set for ourselves.
Yes.
You cannot do it by yourself. You have to collaborate downstream and upstream. Otherwise, it's not going to work, or not work as well as we would expect it to.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's at the heart of ASI. It's all about collaboration. It's that multi-stakeholder initiative that we have going, upstream listening to downstream and so on and so forth. And I think what's important to stay here is that if those suppliers or the people that, they're referring to in the question were members of ASI, ASI does position itself to handhold people on this journey, because we understand that, nobody's perfect and nobody's asking for perfection right off the bat, that we're helping you continuously improve. So whatever the challenges are, I like the fact that you said you have meetings with your suppliers and you
Yeah,
do training. This is the kind of thing that ASI is also positioned to do. So if there was a supplier or a customer that you had that was having issues, we can even come to those meetings with you,
sure.
explain stuff to them in a way that they will be able to understand and embed in their practices. So just
Yeah,
wanted to make that point as well.
I will be with the supply beginning of December to do exactly that. They are
Mm,
currently not an ASI member. They're not ASI certified. It's one of our biggest suppliers. We need them. And we need them for our automotive business, but they need to go out and do the ASI. Otherwise, we cannot procure material from them going forward.
yes.
Okay.
Good, good, good. And then there was another question that came in, although this one I think is more ASI standards related. And it says, what are the upcoming focus areas or changes expected in the ASI standards, performance or chain of custody for the next revision? So I'm not going to hand that one over to you, Renee. I'll just try and
Thanks.
answer it all. There is a page on the ASI website. Tad, I'm hoping that Tad will be able to put that in the chat box for people to go there, the standards hub. But in terms of the focus areas, I think 3 words will sum it up: differentiation, simplicity, and materiality. So in terms of structure, there's structural changes to the standard. So we're moving from the current ESG pillars to cross-cutting systems and 5 thematic areas covering climate, nature, circularity, community rights, and workers' rights. And then there are some modular sections to the side of it, kind of like, supplementary on mine closure and rehabilitation and tailings management. And then we're also introducing a distinction between minimum requirements and leading practice. So, like now everybody's kind of like on the same level. You're certified. But with version 4 of the standards, we're wanting to introduce this distinction between minimum requirements and those that are implementing leading practice. In terms of content, there are some areas where there are small changes, some medium, and then some really significant changes. Among the criteria that have significant changes, they relate to climate, community rights, mine closure, circularity. So circularity is things like, I think we're going big on product design now. And then there's responsible sourcing and then workers' rights. There was a webinar that we did. I don't know if it was the one we did in the summer or the one we did last week. I can't remember now, that went into the detail of which one. I think it was the one in the summer. The one went into detail on which one is going to be medium changes and, high level significant changes. And like I said, it's better for you to watch, whoever has asked this question, to watch the webinar that we had, because we go into detail. But like I said, differentiation, simplicity, and materiality. These are the 3 things that we are kind of like focusing on with the shift to V4. And I'm hoping that that answers the question. There's no other questions in the chat, but let me see, because as you were speaking, I was kind of thinking, okay, what else do I want to ask Renee on behalf of members that are going on this journey for the first time? And one of those questions is like, what's the one thing you wish you knew before you started? Like, yeah, if you had to do this all over again, what would it be?
How challenging this would be
Ah,
And also when people, I have a project management background as well, and people always think that projects kind of like run like this. They don't, and the ASI certification process also proved once again that the project went like this. We had one particular non-conformity that was very challenging for us as an organization. We were able to get rid of the non-conformance. It was closed out. It was all good. But I think to me, it was also the fact that I learned a lot
mm,
about the ASI way of thinking, the ASI standard that we have out there for the aluminium community. And I would totally recommend for all companies involved in aluminium, go out there and do this, because it really does help you grow also in your
mm.
mindset. It's a really unique experience. I learned a lot from this.
I like that. I like that. And I think it's even good to point out that it's a way for companies to kind of take a step back and look at the company from outside. You know, you're kind of always looking at yourself from inside, but when you do the ASI certification, you're looking at yourself from outside with third
But
party eyes.
I'll give you a very easy example. We
Uh,
got to the topic of biodiversity.
mm-hmm,
Now, my management looked at me and said, "What do you mean biodiversity?" My mother corporation said, when we purchased the land and we built the buildings, we met all of the biodiversity rules and regulations out there. Why suddenly now biodiversity? And our auditor said, "Well, you guys need to understand that you are operating here on this land, and you have noise, you have light, you have trucks. We have 400 trucks in and out going every
mm-hmm,
day on our site, and that has an influence on biodiversity." And my management was going like, "No, we don't." But just that discussion to say you do have an impact on biodiversity because it's loud and lots of lights, especially in the evening when it's dark. And if we were ever to consider doing something on the site, we are actually limited now to what we can do in terms of space. we
mm,
we would have to take a very, very focused look on biodiversity, and we need to do a more in-depth biodiversity assessment. We've done a very high level one initially, but we need to
mm-hmm.
drill down going forward in 2026 to make sure that the topic of biodiversity is the expectation is fully met as an organization. But a very, very easy example.
Yes. And it's interesting that you picked on biodiversity because I was having a conversation with Rhiannon, who is a educational manager, because she's going to be putting some stuff together on biodiversity. And we were like, like when people are in cities, they kind of think, yeah, biodiversity stuff that happens, mine closure, mine rehabilitation is not something that people are really aware of. And I
No.
was also speaking to Mark, who, deals a lot with IPAF and mining and stuff.
Yes.
Then the story he told me about biodiversity made me look at the tree in front of my house a lot differently because I think this tree is such
Really.
a nuisance. It's autumn, it's dropping leaves everywhere. It needs to be cut down. And then he told
Yeah.
me the story about this, solitary migratory bird that has nowhere to land and suddenly goes extinct. And
Exactly.
I'm like, okay,
Exactly.
I see how that relates to people that are in built up areas like your company in the city.
Well,
So,
I gave the example of installing beehives on our facility on the land here, and the immediate question was, "Does ASI require this?" And I said, "No, ASI doesn't. But we would be doing something in terms of biodiversity." And the initial reaction now has been to say, "No, don't
mm,
move forward. It's parked. It's in the parking lot as a topic. I will readdress it at some point."
yes.
But it's not out of sight and out of mind. It's just something that one needs to educate people about so that they understand. If you're going to do this, Chinelo,
Hmm.
we need to go out and do this, and really
Yes.
go out and do it, and not just do halfway. Go out and do this. Be responsible.
Hmm.
Support, understand sustainability, and make sure that we leave a world at some point for our children and grandchildren to be able to live in.
Sure, sure. That's what it's really about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you then maintaining the systems that you've already built? So this was your first time. Lots of things were new to you. You've probably put new systems and processes in place. What's the process for maintaining that so that you don't get to recertification and it's like you're starting from square one?
Well, no, we have a suitcase full of information and data and processes that we have that we apply. A lot of them are also driven by corporate, so we have constant reminders to go out and do stuff and update information. And I also have dates set in my calendar to go out and do stuff to make sure that when we do the recertification at the end of 2026, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of data that we've collected, which is good. The question is, does that data need to be updated because the data is old? There's also requirements by the ASI to provide regular updates of data, publish things on your website to be
Mm-hmm.
transparent. That's all of the stuff that I drive for Becker Aluminium in my function as the sustainability go-to man. And that's how we try to ensure, or that's how we ensure that we don't have to go out and reinvent that wheel.
That's good. Good, good, good. So I'm looking at the time now. We have 5 minutes left. And I'm just wondering,
Mhm.
there are no other questions. I don't see
Just if
any.
you allow me, yeah,
Yeah,
Chinelo, just
go
another
ahead.
example of
Mm-hmm.
what I went out and did. When I did the ASI certification, and I was talking to stakeholders within our organization, um, I identified that the sustainability thought process was being dropped off at the entry gate.
Mm,
When people know, in Germany, you segregate your waste and stuff like that. So we have plastic recycling and all this kind of stuff. But it stops basically when people walk in the door. So one of the first things I did was we have a unit called the Klöckner Academy, and I got in touch with the academy, and we made sure that all of our employees here at Becker had to go through 2 sustainability videos to, number one, introduce them to sustainability, and number two, to provide them with ideas and thoughts to think about.
mm,
So everybody was like, oh, 2 hours of it. Well, you can watch a Netflix movie for 2 hours and it's not a problem. So do this. You have 3 months to go out and do this. So they all went out and did it. We had a very, very high acceptance rate and people who actually went out and did this. And the second thing I did was
mm-hmm,
I have made this video schooling mandatory for the onboarding process that we have. So every new employee that we take on, be it white or blue collar, has to go through these 2 hours of videos. Very, very interesting videos, and it's very thought provoking as well. So I'm making
mm-hmm.
sure that when I bring people on board, that when I talk to them, they know what I'm talking about, and it's not like, what is this guy talking about? No, no,
No, I like that. It's about embedding sustainability in the
absolutely.
DNA
It
of the
has to be in the
company.
DNA. Yep,
Yes.
exactly.
So it's not just to tick the box and then go. It's something that it's thought about and is built into how you function as a company. So with the time we have left, do you have any words of wisdom as we close, Renee?
I would really suggest to members to go out there and to do the certifications. You don't automatically have to go out and do one immediately. I believe there's a 2-year window
Yes.
to go out and do this. So go out and get this done as quickly as possible because it will enrich you as an organization. It will enrich you as a person. Your outlook on sustainability really it gets opened up so much wider. Go out and do this because it's important for what we're doing.
Mhm.
The ASI has started a very important road that we're walking down together, and we can only do this together. So go out and get your certifications done. If you need support, contact us. We wanted to be in touch with you as board directors. Engage with us. If we can help you, support you. Also, Chinelo and the Secretariat, please go out, get in touch with us, and make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Renee.
You're more than
I
welcome.
can't top that now. So all I have to say at this point is thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, Renee. This was
Okay.
very insightful. I like the human way in which you presented the topic that
Thank you
we
very
had to
much.
talk about. And then for the members that are listening, if you would like to share your story or any tips in a session like this is not just open to board members, by the way, it's open to all the members. If you've been through certification and you want to do what Renee has done with us today, please feel free to reach out to me. there was something in the member update that I wanted to highlight. So we had this engagement journey map that we published in this month's member update. So this is just one of the ways that you can engage with ASI. You can share a member story. You can talk to us about what you're going through. You can use elemental, you can use educational, and then you can share a story like this in this kind of certification journey, tips, how you're using it, and so on and so forth. So with that said, if you have any queries with your membership or certification, please let me know. And thank you again for attending. And thank you, René.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Goodbye.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank
Bye.
you.